What's up guys, my name's Adam and welcome back to Jamsville. So today we're going to be talking about 5 mistakes that I see a lot of beginner guitarists make and I've made myself. If you're a beginner guitar player right now, chances are you're probably making some of these mistakes, and I promise you that if you address these issues now, it's going to help you so much in the near future and in the long term as a guitar player. So the first mistake that I see tons of beginners making is not playing with a metronome or other timekeeping source. So in the beginning stages where we're playing, a ton of our attention is put on learning things like chords, switching chords, and just getting a feel for the instrument. And a lot of times beginners aren't using a metronome or even a drum track or a backing track to practice with. And as a result, it stifles their progress in terms of developing their technique and also developing their time. One of the things that a lot of beginners struggle with is something like switching chords. So if you have the open chord switching from like G to D to A. And if you're playing with a metronome, that's going to force you to really push your abilities to switch chords quickly. So a lot of times I'll see beginners doing something like this, trying to switch between chords and not having any sort of rhythm going on at all. What will happen is that sometimes they can make the switch faster, sometimes it takes them longer, and the time is just all over the place. Actually, there's just no time at all. So if you put on a metronome instead at a slow tempo, especially at first, it'll force you to, within the limits of your abilities, push them a little bit and make sure that those switches are in time. So I'll put on a metronome and show you how to practice that. Time really is the most important thing as a musician. Yeah, learning the notes and the chords is kind of hard too, but the really hard part is taking all those notes and chords and making sure that they're in time. That's where the mistakes happen, when you're trying to make sure that you play a certain thing in a certain amount of time. So the earlier on that you start to develop your ability to keep time, the better. Besides anything else, for your technical abilities, the metronome is the best way to keep track of your progress and to make sure that you are progressing each and every time you practice. So for example, if you're in the gym working out and let's say you're bench pressing 100 pounds, and then the next time you bench press 110 pounds, you know for an absolute fact that you got stronger. You improved by 10 pounds. The same exact thing applies with a metronome. So if I'm playing, let's say those chord switches, I'm playing them at 80 beats per minute, and I try to go up, but I can't play it cleanly anymore. Then the next time I practice, I'm able to play cleanly at 90 beats per minute. That means, by definition, I objectively got better at guitar. So yeah, the metronome is really important for those 2 main reasons. It develops your time, and number 2, it lets you measure your progress in terms of speed and technique. Number 2 big mistake that I certainly made a lot when I was first learning how to play guitar is not learning songs all the way through. Tons of beginners do this, and tons of non-beginners, certainly intermediate and even more advanced players who have really good technique and they've developed themselves pretty well. They just kind of learn snippets of different songs. I remember doing the same thing all the time. I would learn the main riff from a Led Zeppelin song. I'd learn the beginning of Stairway to Heaven and then not learn the rest of it. And even if I did learn a song all the way through, a lot of times I wouldn't necessarily practice playing it all the way through, which is an important skill in and of itself. If you're practicing a song all the way through, you have to focus the whole time the song's going on and not just for your favorite riff of the song. Another really important reason to learn songs all the way through is that it will teach you how songs are structured. And the biggest reason I think that you need to learn songs all the way through is because then you can actually perform them in public and perform them with other people. Whenever you play with other people, you need to be able to start a song, play it all the way through, and finish it. Even if there's mistakes, whatever, you need to be able to start a song and finish it and go all the way through. Third big mistake that I see a lot of beginners making is that they only practice for one day out of the entire week, and then they don't practice at all for the whole rest of the week. I always tell my students that I would much rather see you practice for 10 minutes a day or even 5 minutes a day, as long as it's every day, instead of practicing for 2 hours on one day and then never practicing again the whole rest of the week. The higher frequency of practicing is much better for learning, and you won't forget things. It doesn't matter what it is on guitar. It's much better for you to practice for a little bit every day than to practice a lot on one day and then stop practicing. The fourth mistake that I see tons of beginner guitar players making is playing with way too much tension and playing way too loud. I think that one of the reasons that this happens to people is that they kind of just approach the guitar with this mindset that guitar is this really hard thing. So I need to try really hard in order to play the guitar and also to get better. And this sort of mindset manifests itself in like every facet of your playing and practicing. So even playing the simplest things, like just playing a chord, it'll be like this. And you can hear this really like tinny, brittle sound coming from the strings because the pick is just hitting it so hard, and I can tell there's just all this tension going on. Back off. Just back off. Instead of playing the chord like this, play it at like a quarter of the volume, which naturally makes you bring the tension down a bit. So you have something like this. Like that, you get a much rounder, full sound. Plus, it's just much easier to play. In a lot of ways, I think that playing guitar is sort of like one of those Chinese finger traps, where the harder that you try to pull your fingers out of it, the more stuck in there they get. Same thing with your left hand and pushing down way too hard on the strings. There I actually bent the strings a bit out of tune because I was pushing down so hard. If you're enjoying this video and you want to check out more free lessons, then make sure you subscribe to the channel down below, and also drop a like on the video. I really appreciate it. It really helps the channel out. And the fifth big mistake that I see tons of beginners making is not playing with other people. I remember when I was taking guitar lessons in high school in like 9th grade, I remember my guitar teacher told me to get together with some musician friends of mine and play. And you know, I never really did do that. And one of the main reasons that I didn't is because I was just kind of too scared to ask them to play. I think that that was just such a bad thing to do, because that was the exact thing that I needed to be doing, was playing with people. And not just playing with people, but playing with people who are better than me. It wasn't until I got to music school and I started meeting a lot more people who played music that I started playing with people a lot more. and just getting better at playing with people, which is its own skill in and of itself, and just having a lot more fun playing guitar. Playing with other people is also, in my opinion, the best way to stay motivated to play music. When you're playing with other musicians who are especially better than you, but even if they're not, even if they're just at the same level as you, and you all are having fun, you're going to want to practice as much as you can, because you always want to sound better and do better whenever you get together with those people to play again. Also, when you get together and play with people, this is where all the stuff that you've been practicing actually comes together. That song you've been practicing, all of the technical stuff you've been practicing. It's a chance to get together with other people and just get all the skills that you have and put them together and just use them to make music and have fun, which is the whole point of doing all this stuff. I know that it can be scary, especially if you've never done it before, but the most growth that you're going to have is going to come getting out of your comfort zone. The reason that it's scary is ironically because that's the best thing that you need to do in order to get better. What are some mistakes that you've made in your musical journey, and what have you done to fix those mistakes? I'd love to hear from you all in the comments down below. Also, I wanted to let you all know that I'm currently accepting new students. If you're interested in private instruction over Zoom, you can check out the link in the description for that if you're interested. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Also, hit the bell button or else you won't be notified. And until next time, listen, learn, and jam.